What's happening, everyone? Man, it is early, so we're going to be doing a drawing today. I'm going to try to draw today. Oh my gosh. But first, before I begin the drawing, got to set my timer. I'm going to do it for about an hour. And the live stream, the drawing usually would take a lot less if I was just drawing, but for the most part, I'm I'm talking, and that slows me down quite a bit. So we're gonna be drawing Indominus Rex, or according to what is it on my the title of this drawing, or title of this live stream, it's called Info minus Rex. Funny little thing about that is, like, I started typing in Indominus, and then my phone just did the autocorrect, and I'm like, I said, nah, I'll be fine. We'll just leave it as that. That works just great. Just great. We'll do that. But before I begin, I'm going to do a few little I'm just going to kind of dip my toes into drawing by just drawing a few circles and such, just to kind of get started, because it is early, and every morning that I do this, it's just like it's kind of like when you if you wake up in the morning. If any of you that run, I don't run in the morning, but I think I did it. I think I've done that in the past, like really early, like when I was younger. Like, it's probably kind of like when you wake up early in the morning, you put on some running shoes and you start running, and the first like mile feels, I don't know about torture, but this coffee is too lukewarm. But feels more like Indominus Rex. It's kind of like a drag, like you're just getting into the mix of things. So I'll typically kind of draw a bunch of shapes, a bunch of little things here to kind of get myself kind of, I don't know, kind of calibrated, I guess, calibrated to draw, mentally preparing myself, maybe. I think it's like mentally preparing myself to draw, because I don't want to jump into these things with the intention of like making errors, which I usually do. And with the intention of like making errors, which I usually do. And oftentimes, really do. And oftentimes, it's kind of like you're not in the right place. Yeah, that's true. You're right. It is like walking before you draw. Um, it's more than that to me. It's just kind of like, because it's so early in the morning. It's kind of like, God, what I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but I guess if you have a job, maybe you have an office job, and maybe you rushed to get to that job. You woke up. That coffee's awful, by the way. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, you run to the office, and it's you get there, and you have all these things you have to do, and you're like, oh well, you don't have all these things that you have to do, but look, there's probably like an hour. There's like an hour lag time before things start picking up. You almost need that hour lag time to kind of get acclimated. Like, oh my gosh, look at me. Why am I here right now? Um, and oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. Maybe that office job, like, analogy is not going to work. I don't think it's going to work. Anyways, I'm still waking up. That's all I got to say. Thanks. I've heard I have a pretty nice voice, I guess. Well, that coffee is awful. Oh my gosh. Um, I am. I'm. I'm. I'm doing some drawing warm ups just to kind of get myself mentally in the right headspace before I begin, and maybe to wake up a little bit because I've only been up for, well, you'd think being up for roughly approximately 40 minutes would be enough. But gosh darn, dude, I really feel like I need about 2 hours to like just fully be aware. Actually, it makes sense because a long time ago, I was listening to like these podcasts and these what kind of would they say psychologist? Let's just blanket term them scientist. There's probably a special name for them, but like when you wake up, your brain is still in like a certain wavelength, and though that wavelength is like kind of gears you is makes you really susceptible to like learning things, I guess, or being open to like things, open minded. I guess being open minded, open mindedness, maybe, I don't know. And there's a certain time frame between when you wake up and when you're like fully when that wavelength kind of goes away. And I think they were talking about how they refer to like the wavelengths that like a baby is from like 1 to 5 or something. Yeah, I think it is an open mindset, something along those lines. Okay, so I got some shapes here, or drawn out. Um, I am going to draw the Indominus Rex. Caveat to that is there's really not a lot of photos of the Indominus Rex, or there is a lot, but they're like all like boring or not great. So I'm going to try my best here, and see what I can do. So the thing that I'm noticing is we're going to do a few things differently this time. I'm going to analyze the drawing a little bit more than not what I normally do. Instead of like just like jumping in and start drawing things, I'm going to yeah, yeah, when you wake up, you're smart when you wake up. I don't know. I think it's more like you can put you're in a certain wavelength. Again, man, I don't want to be like putting the wrong impression here. So I'm going to look at this, analyze this draw this a little bit differently this time. I'm going to try to. I'm going to break it down a little bit differently. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm laying out a center line, or close to the center line, because the the uh, the dinosaur's head's at a tilt, and if I look at the shape of the dinosaur's head, I'm just going to do the head. Like I don't want to focus about the whole body. I don't have time for that. It's kind of like an oval, even though there's a lot more complex forms. It's like an oval with some other things. So first thing is I'm going to draw an oval, and then we're going to go from there, or try to draw an oval. I'm going to try. Now it's not like this, okay? So I'm just using it as a place marker. Now there's other things happening here that I need to take into account. It feels like if I were to I think it feels like the bottom half here is, we're gonna make a, what are we gonna make? I want to make like a, I'm trying to think about like what kind of shape I'm seeing here, but I think I will be better suited just to kind of make a half arc type thing like this. And then I need to actually probably a little bit more like this. I'm drawing actually too heavy. Now let's go ahead and we're going to draw something. Now the thing about doing this method is you want to use some of these structures that I just drawn as a framework, but you don't want to be beholden to them. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm stuck. I gotta keep everything in this box. One Punch Man, yeah, for sure. You don't want to be stuck keeping everything in the box, even when you yeah. So I'm gonna go outside the box a little bit and make some lines here of what I'm seeing, or like some forms that I'm seeing. And let's go ahead and we're going to do that. And we're going to make some shapes here that I think would kind of be the negative space of the Indominus Rex, or close to the negative space of the Indominus Rex. Not perfect. I'm just going to try it and see if it works out for me. The photo I have, it's not particularly clear. It's like an action photo. So there's some like, kind of like blurring effects happening, you know? And so I need to be aware of where those edges begin and end a little bit. So what I'm doing is just adding these positive and negative space forms here, or trying to see how successful I'll get at it. I don't know. And then let's see here, what's happening here. It's kind of hard to tell. So as I said, the form is going to go out of this. We're going to have it go out. And let's see, I think the thing about doing these negative space shapes is it's hard to guess, or it's hard to know where placement of everything is at because you're only looking at the outside. What you need to be doing is doing like like looking at the inside structures. You're looking for references, essentially. You're trying to find reference points to work from. But even now, I think you can kind of see like like the form being made, and how I kind of how I thought this shaped the dinosaur's heads look. The dinosaur's head, Indominus Rex head looks like an oval because it's kind of following an oval shape. Yeah, I wouldn't dare risk it with a pin. A reference point. That's kind of hard to explain. So like, let's just say I have I'm drawing a blank here. See, I have a bottle, right? I have a bottle, right? I have a bottle here. And maybe the bottle has like a label on it, or I don't know, that you draw. And then maybe it has some stuff here, right? And then you have like maybe you have a coffee cup. Now, or maybe you have a cylinder. Let's just say a cylinder, another cylinder. And you're like, I don't know how tall this cylinder in relation to the bottle it. Like, I don't know how tall this cylinder is. I know how tall for some odd reason, I know how tall the bottle is, but I don't know how tall the cylinder is. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking for reference points. And to make things easy, you let's just say this: you'd probably look on the bottle for reference points, either like the top, the bottom of the neck, the top of the bottle, this little jacket right here, and then maybe the label. So maybe I'm looking for reference points to gauge how tall that bottle is, and maybe that bottle or that cylinder is the height of like the first line of text. So the little first line of text. So I look at that and I am using that as a reference point to draw the height of my cylinder, you know. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing the same thing, but more technical, you know, I guess, or more elaborate, because it's not as easy as like, oh, the height of the bottle is, or that cylinder is the height of the first line of text on this bottle I made up. In this drawing, there's not like landmarks. I might be looking at like, so there's a nostril happening somewhere up here on the Indominus Rex, and if I were to make like a horizontal line, I could gauge where the eye begins somewhere around here. I don't know where it begins. It begins somewhere in this area, you know. But I know that the first nostril on this Indominus Rex, the top of it is higher than the eye, you know. And then if I look at I also know that when I draw the nostril, the bottom of that nostril is still higher than the top part of his eye. So I'm looking at stuff like that. Yeah, it's all about. It's really hard, like, because when you're drawing, if you're in a drawing class, the teacher's supposed to kind of help you see, you know. It's hard to teach, like, how do you get better at making lines? How do you do this? Like, you just can't get better at that by instruction. You just have to do it. Because I can't tell you, oh, you gotta practice pen pressure, you know, practice making good and bad lines. You gotta practice. Like, I can't really. It's not like it can teach you that. It's just you have to get that through experience. But what teachers can teach you is like where to look, how to see things differently. All right, I need to go back and look at the negative space again. I think this oval would be farther out. I think the bottom of his jaw is longer now that I'm getting a little bit more awake, you know? Think about the money, muscle memory. Yeah, it is a little bit muscle memory, I guess. I mean, I'm not I thought it was, and I still suck at making circles and ovals and all the other stuff, you know. Let's see here. I'm gonna be making where I think the Indominus Rex teeth are at, and then I gotta slow down and just look at the bottom of his jaw. Now I gotta be aware that I can't keep, just because I'm doing the outside contours doesn't mean I can't change them later on. I'm just doing them now to get like a jumping off point, you know, a jumping off point. And I think that will be that. something like this, and then this is like the bottom of his neck, and then technically up here, like somewhere up here is where his it looks like he's got like spikes or something, and something like that. I don't know, spikes. That's supposed to be his neck comes off right here, and then his like mouth comes off somewhere right here. Now where I'm getting kind of lost is this area right here. Like, I know his mouth comes off here, but I can't tell where like his jaw, like the dinosaur's jaw begins and ends in relation to the dinosaur's neck, because it's all in like this shadowy area. Oh, you got to go yell at your art teacher, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. So right around here, I'm just gonna have to, unfortunately, I have to just make up where I think the T-Rex's jaw, like, the bottom of his jaw begins, because I'm assuming it's kind of like this, like like the bottom of it's like the bottom of like a kind of like a triangular wedge shape, like that, you got that bottom jaw. So I'm thinking it's like this, but on a side profile, but I can't tell because it's all in like the shadowy area, and it's not like, that's the thing about working from a photo. It's not like those lines are really descriptive. They're not like pointing them out. So you have to kind of use your imagination, use some of your judgment, and use some of your judgment. Now, what I'm thinking is, what I'm noticing, what might be a problem is, I think I got this right, but I don't know if I have the width of the dinosaur right. I think I may have squished it this way, and that sucks, and I don't know if I even got the right angle. What helps me estimate? Man. Well, I'm looking at I'm looking for, in this case, I don't have the photo with me, but like in this case, I'm looking at the jaw, and I see very, very slight tone shift. Like it's slight, like a tonal shift that looks like it could be the part of the dinosaur's jawline. It's just very, very slight. It's just enough that I think that might be what's happening. The jaw. So that's what I'm noticing. You know, what I need to start doing is, which I'm trying to do now, is I need to start breaking down everything into shapes, and it's a whole. If you ever watch some of these, there's some YouTubers out there that are really good at it. They're really good. Like, I'm not great at it. I understand it, like the basic premise, but I'm not a master of it. And there's these artists that are like just masters. Again, I never really drew dinosaurs, so whenever I get a request to draw like something, the slight curve, always had a struggle making those little details of different directions, turns, and angles. Ever seen any of Lori Lipton's art? I have not. I'll write that down and check it out. And if I go check it out and it ends up being like some sort of gag, I'll get a laugh out of it. But I have not seen it. That's what I get a lot of. Like, sometimes when I used to stream on Twitch, sometimes people would like troll me, and they would like have me look up stuff, and I'm like, oh, you got me, because people, yeah, because that's what they do, and I was like, oh, you got me, dude. All right. Let's see. I need to do a few things here. So this whole area is kind of dark. Maybe I need to bring this down. I don't know if my pen would let me draw. That's what I'm doing is I'm using a lot of cheap work. Oh, yeah, I'm doing a lot of using a lot of cheap materials. Surreal drawings. Yeah, surreal. I have I need to look into it. I don't really look at a lot of art. I need to look more into it. I think I'm just like everyone else. Sometimes, whenever you see like a great artist doing good stuff, you're like, oh, you kind of get like self reflective a little bit, And I'm a grown man, so like, I I get and I still have those like those feelings. I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't be feeling that comparison. I shouldn't compare myself. I should just keep striving to be the best me possible. And then I'll have that like comparison. I have the same thing. So I think what I did here is I messed up, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna figure this out. So I think the tooth. I'm gonna add another tooth here because I messed up where his teeth were placed, and it's kind of funny how they make these T-Rex's teeth. They're like, I guess like if you ever look at like a shark's mouth, their jaw, and you see all their teeth, they're all mangled. Not mangled, but they're all just everywhere. And I guess if you look at so like I see this T-Rex's teeth or is Indominus Rex teeth, and they're almost like aesthetically done in a certain aesthetic way, I don't know. And let's go ahead and try to bring down some of these teeth a little bit because they're going downwards. Now they're getting a little vague down in this area because it's getting darker and darker, so I really can't see them. It's more like a value problem. Painting resemblance slow time. Oh, like Salvador Dali. He was a goofy. He made some videos of him really old, but like he was so like artists, man, like the ones that really make it. Some of them they have to like act like weird, you know, like almost how like some influencers today have to like do the silliest things just so that they can be quote unquote relevant, I guess, and yeah, they have to be like really weird, and because they're acting weird, that's not them. They're like they have to be like an inflated a caricature of themselves, really. But the problem with that is like, how do you can't break out of that caricature, Yeah, the back of the mouth is really so like there is what I'm trying to work with this within a certain time framework. There is a big area inside here that is all shadow, you know, and I don't know if I'll be able to get that in there, but it's mostly all shadow. You see part of his tongue like somewhere around here. I guess it's kind of like an oval shape with some shadows dipping into it, and maybe some sharp edges on the bottom. And I don't know if it's placed right here. It's probably lower. It's actually I think it's a little bit lower in the frame. But I'm trying my best. And I'm trying, but like that's the problem with doing these live streams is I run out of time because I'm talking, and that's okay. Especially, yeah, it's okay if I'm talking. It's okay that I don't finish the drawing. But like, what if I was doing this, without doing a live stream? It'd be go time. I'd just be working through it and be done. I wouldn't be done, but I would definitely be further along. Because I had to stop and describe things to you all, so that maybe like when you draw a dinosaur or when you're measuring things, you have this to refer to. I don't know. Maybe you might get some value out of that. I don't know. I'm just yapping. I'm just yapping. Okay. Got to make a slight tilt here. Because right here it looks like they're adding what is it? The eyeball socket area. I might even make the top of this a little higher. The eyeball. Now the problem with this is I can't really tell what the eyeball looks like in this area. It's all in shadow. So I'm just going to add something right here, just a quick little shading area. And then over here, so this is where the eye kind of goes. And then I'm looking at value, or looking at like a mass of value, where I would start adding more shading. Again, right here as well. So I'm going to add a little bit of shading right here. This eye socket's darker than this, though, except for like maybe right here. There's an area right here that I think divots inwards. I don't know. I'm just using whatever information I have at the moment. Pupil designs. Pupil designs. No, I don't. That, how they cats pupils, I guess. Whoops, that's terrible. Should have sketched out the circle first. Like they look a cat pupil. I don't know. No, it's the only thing I'm seeing that is showing the eye is like just a subtle highlight here somewhere. But it's really dark. It's one of the darkest areas in the drawing. So I need to step it up. I have 20 something minutes. So let's start doing some things. Oh, gosh darn it, dude. This is what happens. This is another thing. When you are getting, I get these art requests often. Not often, but like I'll get an art request that is, it's significantly more challenging, and there's more things that I have to look into than like a really simple. Oh my gosh, maybe that's wrong. Than like a cartoon. A cartoon I can do relatively quickly because you don't have to deal with as many variables. There's not as much shade. There's a lot of cartoons, they don't have shading. They have cell shading. They're like two-tone. They're three-tone at most. Also, everything is already in line. Like there's lines already there for you. So you don't have to worry about drawing lines. You know where the lines are at. You just need to know where those lines are put in space. When you're drawing an object that looks a little bit more realistic, I think I got this wrong too. Oh yeah. I'm just looking. So we got this tooth, this tooth. I think the nose goes a little bit further in the back, just a smidge, and then this nostril is somewhere in between this tooth I have here. So I'm going to move the nostril again, just a little bit like that. But now I have like a ghost nostril, and that sucks. We're going to figure it out. I don't even know if this is right. I think I got the spacing wrong. And think isn't over. I did have this. I do have the spacing wrong, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and just quickly, because this part of the teeth are they're very dark, and we're just going to go ahead and just quickly like shadow underneath here, so that you know that if I were to continue this drawing, a lot of this area would be darker. And when I'm doing new things, I have to slow down a lot, you know. Yeah, cartoons don't have a lot of shading. They're pretty simple, you know, straightforward. They're mainly just you have to deal with the line. You don't have to deal with very technical shading usually. I mean, there's some animes out there, animes out there that do some really amazing shading. But for the most part, it's more straightforward than like something like this, where there's a little bit more volume and form being drawn or put out there. So what I'm going to do now is I think I got a lot of the form here. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of fill in and just kind of respond to the value that I'm seeing. And then I'll add as I go along. But I'm going to respond to the value. And I'm going to try to make it feel like a more complete drawing, even though I don't have the time. Yeah, I really feel like I could have made this jaw longer. Like, I don't know how much more I could probably extend it just a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do now is I got to look at somewhere underneath this area. I got to look at what I'm seeing, just kind of guess. Not necessarily guess. Well, kind of guess. Yeah. Guess where I see the hints of where some teeth might be. Because they're... it's like an action photo, so some of it's kind of blurry, you know? And I really can't tell what's going on. I can tell, but... there's no like clear boundaries to where the teeth begin and end, and then where the bottom of the jaw, his jaw line begins, because it's all in shadow, you know. So that's another thing. It's like everything's in shadow down here, so it makes things kind of confusing, you know, and you can get kind of lost. So you have to kind of just take your time and observe. And then make some marks, and then do some more observations, you know. It also helps if you knew the structure. If you had multiple views of this dinosaur, like maybe if you had a view that was a profile that you could see like the side of the face, maybe you had a view that was just the front, and then you had a profile on the other side. Then maybe you had a top down and a bottom up view, and so you can get an idea of like what everything looks like. I'm just using one image, and I'm basing all my drawing on that, and it makes it kind of difficult because I've never drawn this thing before, and you know, and there's some challenges and hurdles that you have to go through as you're doing this. So I'm thinking I'm going to bring down his tongue, and it's all in shadow. You only get a few little slivers of like what the tongue looks like, I guess. And I don't know if it's a pointy tongue or if it's kind of like a flat front, but it looks kind of like it might be a flat front. And I don't know if I'm capturing it well, but I'm just responding. Again, with all these drawings, you'd have to do with any drawing. I think it's always good to like do multiple ones. If I want, yeah. I think I've tried to describe things the best that I can, especially when a drawing like this would take hours to do. If I wanted to do it really, really well, even one that's this small. Now, I know some artists would be able to do it in less than hours or at an hour. And possibly I would be able to do it if I drew dinosaurs. If I drew dinosaurs and animals or lizards all the time. But I'm not drawing dinosaurs, animals, or lizards. I'm drawing like anime, cartoons, lizards, still lifes, plants, and I am not, excuse me, particularly an expert or known to do stuff like that. If anything, I'm more of a figure artist than anything else. That's probably the thing that I've drawn the most of. The second thing I've probably drawn the most of is still lifes. Still lifes are so much easier because you can see things better. And the objects you can break down. The objects are so much more simpler, especially when you're just using bottles and plates and bowls and such. You know, they're just simple cylinders, you know. There's nothing to them. And then when you get to like something like a dinosaur, there's so many moving. I'm trying to get my pen to like make work or pen to work that there you go. My goodness, 17 minutes. I don't know. I wanted to spend more time on it, but gosh darn, dude. Painting teacher. Yeah, sometimes, honestly, my first art teacher was probably the best. My other art teachers, I think, taught me how to look at art. Not like look at art as like, oh, see things, because they were bad at that. But how to like experiment with materials and not be afraid of doing weird things with your art, which has its place. But if you're trying to learn how to make a thing look like a thing, you want an artist that teaches that. But I didn't have those. I had to learn that on my own, and even then, it wasn't as helpful. I probably should have read more about that. Read more about it. Probably should have. I probably should have read more books about it. I still should be reading books about it. I probably should have researched colleges more. I don't know. Ones that would actually push me in the direction that I was probably seeking, which is how do I make things look more like things. instead of like, how can I play around with different media, and how can I find my own voice as an artist, you know, which has its place. Finding your quote unquote voice as an artist, building your own work as an artist has its place. But you got to build up your skill set first before you can start just talking about like creating a like series of work or whatever. And I'm talking more about like the field of like fine art, where they have to talk about they do things that, yeah, their work is a commentary on life, or it's a commentary on what's happening in the world. And not all fine artists do that. Some people will just will just do still lifes, you know, and that's fine too, and do just really hyper realistic paintings or something, you know. But there's some artists that like will make work that is a comment or reflection on what's happening in the world, I guess. And that's also a valid reason thing as well. But you know, and not to say that like anime and comic art doesn't do that. There, a lot of that is a reflection. Does political commentary and comments on society of the day. You know, I don't know. I need to look up to see if there's any comments here. Believe making random shapes into a picture. Got stuck with a painting teacher that wouldn't stop talking. Random shapes into a picture. Well, I mean, technically, these were random shapes. I don't. I need to get some context. I probably missed out on like what I was talking about, and you're replying to something that I said a little bit earlier, and so I'm just like, what am I saying? What did I say that you were replying from? Right. There's so much to be done and not enough time. Not enough time. So little time to do. Okay. Right over here, there's a dark area. And then it gets darker again right around, quote unquote, here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build up the value ranges in kind of like layers, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to build it up in layers. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And it's just going to take some time, and I don't know if I got 11 minutes. And even though I got 11 minutes, I might probably end up working on this a little bit later. But, you know, sometimes this is what it takes. Like, sometimes it takes an hour. Actually, it wouldn't take an hour if I wasn't stopping and talking every 5 seconds. But sometimes it takes a little while to build up your base. And I talk about this a lot. When you're drawing, you want to start out simple with your work, with your image, and then you can always add detail to it later. Oftentimes I want to start out with the detail. And how can they start out with their layering? How can they start out with their layering? Well, Oh man, how can I explain this? Well, let's to keep it very simple. Again, let's say you have a sphere, right? A sphere, and you want to start your shading slowly, but you don't know where to begin. Well, the first thing you would do is you determine the light source. So let's say the light source, for simplicity's sake, comes from this little corner here, and it hits this area, right? And if you have some experience with shading or value and light, once it hits that area, that specific area on that what would you call it, surface, that is going to be the brightest spot of the entire surface. Then everything else from that point down on is going to get darker and darker, unless there's another light source going somewhere else. But we're going to keep it simple. And so what you would do is, since you know that this is the brightest spot, minus this little circle here, is you would with your lightest touch, layer. That's not super light, but you would layer a very light tone on top of it, and then you start adding other things to it. So you had your highlight, right, which looks more like a pool table ball than anything else right now. And then you'd have your shadow, and the next thing you would have to determine is the my gosh, I'm forgetting. It'd be they call it reflective light shadow because there's always going to be light bouncing off of a table surface and hitting the back, and that's what causes that highlight on the back side of your drawing. But you would add like another layer of shadow, and then you'd go ahead and add another layer of shadow that would be like your core shadow. But you would start out. But the thing is, you just start out with your simplest light, and then you layer on your extra stages of light, which it'd be like highlight, shadow, reflective light. Again, it's not reflective light or reflective shadow. It's 1, 2, 3. This is not reflective light, because once you add the fourth shadow, which would be your core shadow, which will be your little core shadow right here. Again, this is an abbreviated version. There's this small little area right here on the back side that becomes your number 3, your core shadow, and then number 5 would be like your cast shadow. But obviously, knowing this does not mean you're going to be able to translate this into this so easily. Technically, everything from this side on should be shadow. So everything, there's a highlight right here. Everything downward would be like a number 2. But there's some light sources happening here that makes this part of his mouth shiny or brighter. So that would not be a number 2. I don't know. There's it's just crazy. Go on Google. Yes, go on Google. Just go on Google without context. I've heard teachers nowadays, they walk in the class, and then they just open up their projector or YouTube, and then just play YouTube videos of what they're teaching today in class. And it's not even their YouTube videos. It's just some other person's YouTube videos. Now, I'm not against that if you are teaching. If you are teaching, and you're teaching the concept, and you need to use the video as a supplement, you'd use that and have the students watch it later on, as a reference to go to, but also to get to have them it being explained in a different point of view. But most of them are just using it like, this is it. This is what I'm teaching you today. You're gonna watch this video. It's like, what says, why couldn't I could just look this up myself. This isn't a secret. But yeah, or the other reason why you would do that as a teacher is if you have so much information to give out that you don't have enough time in class to give out that specific information from the video you use the video to give out more information, more context. But if you're using that as your main tool for your class, then you shouldn't probably be teaching. You're just lazy. No offense to teachers that do that, but if like that's not your like, there's no reason for that. Now if the teacher had made the video themselves and then used it as a supplement, by all means do that, but not like, that's like stuff that substitutes teachers do. Is they like oh, this teacher's sick, it's a free day, so they have a substitute teacher come in, and all they do is like play a video that's kind of roughly related to the topic or subject matter that they're going on in class. And you go to class, you're getting a free day. You're getting a free day, or you get that substitute teacher that had like, that is actually trying to be a teacher, and they come in and they're going to teach you stuff that because the teacher also gave the sub like the topic and all the notes that they're going to be going over, and the substitute teacher is actually a teacher in training, and they're going to teach you or try to teach you, and you're like, oh man, great, now I got to learn something. Those were not the fun subs. You wanted a substitute teacher that was just going to like pop in a video or something, or turn on a video or put on a video for you to watch. And you're like, oh, great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you always wanted those teachers. 5.5K. I haven't even drawn anything. Oh yeah, the subs that came in are like, oh man, you and the sub, man, the sub that's going to be a teacher or is trying to get their credentials and is going to teach you stuff. That they know that you don't want, that you want them to, that they know that the student's expecting like a science video being played, or a math video to be played while they're subbing, and they go ahead and they're like, oh, I'm going to teach you anyways. And you're like, no, today was supposed to be a free day. I was supposed to like take a little nap on the table, on the desk. And they're like, and the teacher's like, no, you're not. You're gonna learn something today. You're gonna learn math my way, or you're gonna learn science my way, or I'm gonna teach you something that I'm learning right now. I don't know. And then there was like I remember I was like in geometry or something like that, and we had a geometry teacher, or a teacher in training. Like he wasn't subbing, but like he was there as a TA, and then he also would come in there and teach, and he was not good. Like he came in there teaching like I mean, for me personally, he came in there teaching like I was going to be a math major, and you can't do that. You got to teach as if I'm an idiot. Like I don't know anything about math. Not as if I'm going into becoming a mathematician, and he would explain these things, and I'm really trying to remember what he was doing, but like he would explain these things to me, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck he's talking about, you know, and it sucked because I was never really, I'm not really great at math anyways, but like, you need someone to break down these concepts from like beginning to end. But again, when you're a teacher, you have to teach in the middle. You know, you can't teach from the bottom up, which kind of sucks because you have like a certain amount of students, and you have to teach. You know, I actually have more time than I have. I could probably draw for another 30 minutes, and I might do that. I don't know. I'm not going to get much done because I'm kind of like, it's the students' planning by the board that ruins it. Yeah, I don't know what I want to draw. I don't know how long I want to continue. I really need to start. I need to do something else. Like I need to do. Well, for one, I need to get another cup of coffee. And I'm nowhere near completion on this, honestly. I'd probably have to like. I'll work on this like. I think what I might do is I might work on this like periodically throughout the day, and see where it takes me. Maybe like post the finished drawing or post a little quick video montage of it or something. Or I might just leave it as a nice little case study, like as it is, because this is kind of like just a nice little sketch, you know. And I learned something from it. I did learn quite a bit, and I'm gonna I'm gonna try to do this more often. I need to set up the angle. I need to probably do a box-like form, combine a little bit of positive negative space, and start breaking down these objects more in shapes, because I feel that I gravitate to that a little bit. It makes sense to me. If I know like the underlying structure between the drawing, instead of trying to draw it loosely, I can draw things loosely, but I feel that they don't feel like they're like strong, I guess. Like they don't feel as rigid as I like them to be. Teach you a still life someday. Did they add letters to math? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with math these days. I sometimes I see a video of like parents asking their kids what they learned in math, and they show like this way of going about in math that's like super. It makes sense, but it's super like it's overly complex. Like it involves you using a lot of like weird like grids or graphs. Probably someone in here probably knows what I'm talking about. But I don't know. Anyways. What'd you learn in math? I didn't learn anything in math. I was probably sleeping. Yeah, I was probably sleeping, man. The thing about school, man, they wake you up way too early. Like it goes against how your circadian rhythm as a kid. As a kid, you're like you need a lot of sleep. You just do, you know. I can function on less sleep than I did when I was a kid, and I do a lot more. You know, but as a kid, man, you're growing. Your brain is developing, and that causes like I guess I assume like energy. You're like using a lot of energy, aka you're using a lot of calories, and that can be fatiguing. You know. Anyways, I gotta go, everyone. I really do. Knocked out, drooling. Iron Man. I had the wrong geometry teacher. It should have been easy for me. It should have been easier to learn geometry because I was a visual. I still drew as a kid, so I saw things visually. But man, they used more. They didn't do it right. Yeah, I will. Man, I'll try. I don't know. I got to do some other art related things after this. But I try to do like I'm trying. I'm striking out a lot. I'm trying to be more consistent with these live streams, and it's just not working out the way I'd like to. So anyways, thank you so much. I got to get going. 6K, man, that's a lot. 6K likes. That's pretty cool, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.